Okay. All right. I'm going to see if YouTube fixed the flip. Let's see before we get started. Yay. Here we go. Thank you, Jesus. Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and get started. 3 deep breaths, quiet the regulation, emotional regulation is what we're going to do with these 3 deep breaths so that the amygdalas are not panicking, and we're letting the brain know that we're getting ready to learn something new today. On your own, go ahead and inhale and exhale 3 times. Deep breaths, starting now. Before we get a bunch of chatter going and it takes over the bottom of the screen, this would be a great time for you to take a screenshot. If you're watching on the replay, go ahead and take a screenshot as well. Today, we will be talking about gray area. I also looked up the spelling of gray, G-R-A-Y or G-R-E-Y. In America, we spell it G-R-A-Y. In the European countries, they spell it G-R-E-Y. Both are correct. And so you will see that I have chosen to use the American way to spell the word gray. Additionally, what I'd like to say is, excuse me, make sure you have your screenshot. I will be going back and forth, hopefully, and not get kicked out of my live from the first couple of days when YouTube was having a glitch. Additionally, as always, this is a mental workout, so go ahead and ensure that you have water. Dr. Bing on TikTok told me, he's a neurologist, 75% told his following, 75% of your brain is water. If you go to sleep at night and wake up, you're already experiencing some level of dehydration simply by sleeping. So wake up in the morning and drink water before coffee, tea, whatever else, protein shakes and all of that. Go ahead and drink water. Your brain is going to be used even if you're sitting here taking notes. That's enough for your brain to say, hey, give me some hydration. So ensure that you have your water. Now, what I'd like to say is today we're talking about gray area. Good morning, Regina. We're talking about the gray area. And I'm doing a lot of changes behind the scenes, and it's because I'm coming up on my 12th anniversary of severing ties with my sister. So on August 13th, that will be 12 years of me solo doloing. And so just like New Year's is for me is November 1st, October is a transitional month. So is the end of July. So from like July 13th until August 13th, a lot takes place for me universally so that I can ensure that the next upcoming year for that particular thing isn't going to be the same. I won't be repeating myself. So behind the scenes, got a lot going on. And the other day, it was either yesterday or today is Monday. So yesterday, or I believe it was Saturday, where this gray area, and I've talked about being in the middle, and I have PA challenges and really to bring forward. Think of middle school. When you're in the middle, puberty is happening. The girls are taller than the guys. Everybody's fat and zits on their face and everything else. Nobody really takes photos of middle schoolers because they're kind of hideous. And so it's like, hurry up and get out of this phase. And I did research. Of course, I do my research in Chat and Grok. Sometimes Google can support. But this is the information that I'd like to share with you today because I thought it was very interesting to understand the gray area. So let's go ahead and get into it. The definition. So what I asked Chat was the gray area when you're in the process of growing. Good morning, Lola. When you're in the process of growing. So that gray area. So everything I'm talking about is growth. Grow continually is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. A gray area when you're in the process of growing refers to the uncertain in-between space when you're no longer who you were, but not yet who you're becoming. I want to say that again. You're no longer who you were, but you're not yet who you are becoming. So I am not yet world-renowned Nobel Prize winning Dr. Donna Thomas-Rodgers, but I sure as hell ain't Dee Dee from the D, or even Donna Thomas-Rodgers for that matter. So I'm in between. So what is the definition and context of growth? I'm glad you asked, Regina. A personal gray area is a period of mental, emotional, and behavioral ambiguity. Now, listen to that. Not my guess. Wasn't my guess either. So behavioral ambiguity is situations where it's unclear how to act or what is expected in a given circumstance, making it difficult to determine the appropriate response. Situations where it's unclear how to act or what is expected in a given circumstance, making it difficult to determine the appropriate response. I find myself every day on these lives challenged with how will I respond? What will I say? What will I do? And I thought about it this morning and I said, what is this the equivalent to? Because I'm learning about neuroscience while I'm simultaneously teaching it to you based upon the principles of real leadership. And it's parenting. So anybody that had a strategy before they had a child or multiple children, I did. And then little Miss Nola Monique Rogers showed up. And I basically had to throw that damn plan out the fucking window because she showed up and showed out. And ever since then, I've been calling audibles. So if you think about anybody who's had to raise a younger sibling or a child, a niece or a nephew, you are making it up as you go along. Every day is new and you might have a strategy, but you got to do it in real time. And so that's what this feels like. It's every day. I got to do it again. I got to do it again. I got to be an example. I got to learn these terms. I got to do all this. And you got to get to school. And you need to eat. And you got to become a responsible adult. So that's what I feel like every morning. It's definitely ambiguity. It's ambiguous. It's like, woo, how do I do this? So that is there. And I'm in this gray area. And so I thought, wow, behavior ambiguity is a perfect term for what I'm experiencing on the daily basis. And what it means is your identity is shifting. Old habits no longer fit. I cannot go back to 2016 me when I was doing business strategy series at the Urban Chamber. Not going to work. Not going to work at all. So who I am becoming is shifting. My habits no longer fit. New patterns aren't fully formed yet. So me knowing everything about the brain, me being able to look at the brain and say, this is that part, this is that part, this is that part, that's not fully formed. And there is this discomfort, doubt, and contradiction that shows up every day. Every day I'm like, okay, wow, but what about that part? But then I thought that part went there. Okay, now I got to explain this. And then I'm going back and forth. I'm in the show me phase of the principles of real leadership. These other things are coming up. So is it Wired Wednesday? Is it Thinking Thursday? Do I switch this? And so every day I am in this ambiguous situation for people. And I'm saying, but I know this works. I know what I'm talking about. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. But then I'm like, but do you know what you're talking about? Because it's real great every single day. So here are some examples in psychological and here are some examples. They're psychological and neuroscience based. So here's what's happening. Rewiring your brain, neuroplasticity. We talk about it a lot. So in the gray area, you're trying to break an old habit. For example, they're saying procrastination while building a new one, time management. But I'm trying to break an old habit. And my old habit is thinking because I have an EDD, not a PhD, and I didn't study neuroscience, how am I supposed to start teaching people about the functionality of the brain and the connectivity of the brain when my doctorate is in education, it's organizational leadership. So it's real great. And what I'm doing on the brain basis is I'm competing neural pathways in the prefrontal cortex, the basal ganglia, and the anterior cingulate cortex. So my brain is stuck between the familiar loop and a new effortful behavior. So I know everything there is about leadership. I know everything there is about business. I know a lot about a lot. And then here comes these doggone dendrite trees and these axons and this doggone hyperpolarization and depolarization and this synaptic, postsynaptic connection and presynaptic connections and all these other things. And I'm sitting here like, am I an actual expert or am I a neophyte? Which one is it? Give me. Got it. Okay. Which one is it? Going back and forth. So now there is this emotional regulation during the change. So the gray area is you're trying to stay calm and grounded while still feeling triggered by past patterns. And the brain basis is the amygdala, the emotion, and the prefrontal cortex, the self-regulations, are in a tug of war. So the tension that I feel is it's pulled in both reaction and response. And so I'll use an example. Yesterday we were in Whole Foods, and we have a lot of new middle class people that have moved into our area, and they're using racism and cultural bias and everything to shop. And so that doesn't bode well for me. So Nola and I are standing at self-checkout. Now the self-checkout that we're standing at, you go around to get your forks and stuff from the hot cart, and the Amazon thing is right there. So there was this European American family, and they had a daughter with them and a grandmother and a mother. And so I'm standing at the end. The daughter comes through with her cart, and she's trying to get past me. And so I'm standing there. She's a child. I'm an adult. So she's trying to get through. Mom already went through. The daughter's trying to get through. And grandma's trying to get through. And I'm standing there looking at them. And they're standing there looking at me. And so the grandmother finally gets frustrated and says, "Oh, excuse me." And I said, exactly. That's the magic word to get past. And then she tried to raise up a little bit. And I told her, I said, you better keep it pushing. You better keep it pushing, because you don't want none of this. And so then she not calmly, but walked away. And so I went on a rant, and Nola was like, when we come in here at this time and all of this, and I'm like, I ain't got time for that. So I'm going back and forth between, should I slap the shit out of this lady or just let her be her racist self? And so I have to make a decision. Am I still going to be popping off at people who decide they think they know who I am based upon my personal appearance at that time, or do I let it go? I'm in a gray area. She was able to walk out that store and go on about her business, and I didn't catch a case yesterday. Why not say excuse me? See, look at this bullshit. Why didn't they say excuse me? I'm a timeout right now. Excuse me is the word. Excuse me is the word. Why the fuck I'm gonna get out of somebody's way when all they gotta say is excuse me? It was a crowded area. They were new. See, you already on their side, and you wasn't even there. There really wasn't space, because big grocery carts shouldn't even be in self-checkout. So you automatically assume that I was the person. Ain't no kid about to be shot. You know what? Let's play this out. So my daughter, I have a child, and my daughter knew how to say pardon me and excuse me at 5 years old. What the fuck should I got to do with it? Manners are manners. Why are you automatically taking that other person's spot? What's your ethnicity? Admiral Spicy Wiener? What's your ethnicity? See, because this is what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. I'm in the gray area right now. I have a choice. Block this motherfucker or have this conversation. Automatically. I'm the one who was supposed to move. For what? The grandmother was standing right next to her. She was older than me. She could say excuse me if the child was shy. The child had on a tube top looking like a little 10-year-old hoe. She wasn't that shy. So see, ladies and gentlemen, gray area. I have a choice to keep this up because Admiral Spicy Winner decided that they wanted a dopamine boost. I'm using a personal example to say I'm working on responding versus reacting neurologically. And this person has decided, oh, this is a great opportunity to start something. Let's see if I can get this person wired up so I can get my dopamine boost and go, ha, ha, ha. Even though this person is a coward because of the A, because they don't have a real name, because they don't have the ability to be themselves, once again, gray area. I have to decide, do I stop doing what I'm doing and interact with another imbecile for the day? That's what I'm saying. So at what point do I just block, or do I hold people personally accountable who are entering my space that I did not invite them into? Now, oh, but it's free. It's YouTube. I can go wherever I want to go. No, you can't. As I've mentioned before, unaccountable people need a host. And when you hold them accountable for their unaccountable actions, they do fight. I'm going to fight back. You're wrong, Dr. Donna. I'm not. If an adult is standing next to a child and the child doesn't say, excuse me, they say excuse me. Yesterday at a client's home, the child came downstairs and didn't say hello to us, and her mother said, say hello. So at that point, it's the parent's responsibility, and it's definitely the grandparent's responsibility. So in this moment, Admiral, thank you for being an asshole this morning and using this as an example. I've chosen reaction instead of responding, and now I'm going to block you from my channel. As I mentioned, and I will continue to go on, emotional regulation. So I shouldn't have to contend with situations like that in Whole Foods. I should be able to go in the store, get what I need, and leave. But because people are still in their negativity bias and everything else, I got to keep making a choice. And quite frankly, I'm tired of having to make that choice. So Admiral just said, why didn't I move? Grandma was standing there. Why didn't they say, excuse me? And there is no real answer because people are unaccountable. Because when people are personally accountable, treat people with dignity and respect is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. And as a result of that, one of the two of them would have said, pardon me, and I would have purposely moved out of the way. But when someone has never been on the receiving end of racism and the energy that you can automatically feel, then they say stupid shit like that. Having been profiled enough in my lifetime, I can tell when someone is actually doing it because they think their skin color is better than my skin color, and it is not. Everybody's complexion is what it is. So at no point will I not stand up for myself when someone thinks that they're better because another idiot told them your skin complexion makes you better. That's never going to happen. It's the stupidest shit in the world, and it's never going to pass for me. So I might be reacting for that for another couple years. Who knows? My point is that's a gray area for me that I'm still a work in progress. Next is redefining beliefs. And then I had to make a choice. Do I even say this? Because I knew someone was going to say some dumb shit. So now I'm in a gray area saying, oh, do I come across as a victim? Do I have to say this? And now this is turned into a race thing. And I'm like, fuck it. It's my channel. I'm going to say it. You don't want to hear it? Exit stage left, because that's the reality. And be honest is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. Redefining beliefs. So the gray area is your values are evolving, but your environment still reflects the old you. When I had that steel bat and that tire iron and I became Lieutenant Thomas, I had to make a decision. I can't still walk around. I can't be a commissioned officer in the United States Army and still be DD from the D at the same time. And so now I got to decide if I go back, are people going to call me a sellout, which they did when I went back to hire people for Frito-Lay, or do I say this is where I'm headed? This is where I'm going, and so it's just going to have to be this way for them. So what happens is the brain basis is that in default mode network, and your ventral medial prefrontal cortex is involved in self-reflection and meaning making. And the tension is you may feel lost, misaligned, or unsure who to trust, including yourself. So as you are in this in-between phase, what is taking place for you? And it is rewiring your brain for neuroplasticity, the emotional regulation that takes place from who you were to where you're going, and redefining your beliefs. Am I still Dee Dee from the D? I tell people all the time, I reserve 2% of her for my own self-protection. For the amygdala to say that's actually a threat. And I'm much better than I was ever before than I am currently right now. I would pop off at the drop of a hat. And now my prefrontal cortex says, hold up, wait a minute. And part of it is I understand right now that there is nothing for unaccountable people to do because they are programmed imbeciles. They don't have anything to do. School's not in right now. There's nothing going on in sports. And so they are bored. And so they are doom scrolling and they are looking for a dopamine boost. So I have now been live long enough to know there is going to be an influx of people coming to my lives. It's happened on TikTok and now it's happening on YouTube. And in the middle of me attempting to present information to you for a gray area, I now have to stop and decide, am I saying something? Am I getting rid of this person? What am I going to do? And I would just prefer having a learning environment that's free from unaccountable people. But they need a host. They need a host. And in order for their world to work, they need a host. We don't need a host over here, but they definitely need a host over there. So as I move on, what does it feel like in the gray area? There's confusion or contradiction. Doubting your progress. In this moment, I'm doubting my progress because for the last 2 weeks, I have had to deal with imbeciles, unaccountable people, and I'm saying, and then Lola types something, Regina types something, Kevin types something, Nola types something, and then I say, okay, cool. You got to go slow to go fast. So just keep going. Just keep going. and then feeling like an imposter. And so I looked up imposter syndrome today because I see it on the internet all the time. Imposter syndrome, imposter syndrome. And I'm like, what the hell is that? So finally today, because it showed up in my teaching, it is a psychological phenomenon characterized by persistent self-doubt and a fear of being exposed as a fraud despite evidence of one's competence. So you think you're going to be exposed as a fraud even though you're extremely competent. So there are plenty of people who are neuroscientists, neurologists, psychiatrists, psychologists, and they have been doing this for a very long time. And Dr. Donna is 10 months in. 10 months in. So am I a fraud? Am I, because I don't say orbitofrontal cortex, or I was not saying adenosine correctly, does that make me a fraud? Or am I actually not a fraud? I am competent and I'm just expanding my research. Vacillate with that back and forth. And then I'm live and I don't know who's going to be on live. And now I have to address this. And people come asking me things that I'm not talking about and saying things. Person talking about my hair, somebody else talking about ADHD, and I'm talking about gray matter. So all of these things that are taking place is like, well, are you who you say you are? Do you actually know about the brain, or do you not know about the brain? A gray area. And then you have emotional highs and lows. There are times when the live goes perfectly great and I'm good. And there are times like this morning when I'm just like, when will y'all go find something else to fucking do? When will y'all go? It's so low because you're here and it's disruptive. I have a tablet in front of me, I have notes in front of me, and I have the live that I'm moderating at the same time. So my working memory, and I'm reading and instructing simultaneously. So I'm using 5 areas of my working memory in front of people with a 5 to 7 second delay from a broadcast perspective. That's a lot going on. Attempting to maintain order. Anytime you've been in a classroom in school and that person pops off, everything gets disrupted. Now you got to send them to the principal's office and everything else. And now your amygdala has been slightly hijacked. And now you got to go back and say, okay, where was I? You got to do some calming breaths, regulate the emotion regulation center, and then move forward so that the people who came here to learn actually came here to learn. There was a group in January that followed me over from TikTok. I had to regulate people on Instagram. That group left because they said, oh, you're back yelling and cursing again and I can't take it and all that. Okay, cool. Then you got to go. But I still got to do the thing that I came here to do. And so those are the emotional highs and lows that you witness in front of the scenes, but then what's happening behind the scenes. I'm in a neuroscience class. I had to take one test 3 times just to pass it. That's a low. First test, I got 80 something on. The worst test was 33.33%. So in this process of this gray area, it's like, how long is this shit gonna last? So you want to go back and go forward at the same time. Go back to a simpler time. But I don't want to be that. If I go back to the simpler time, then I got to be that thing. But I want to go forward. But all this is a lot going on at the same time. Hence, gray area, ambiguity, not knowing what to do. Why is it necessary? I'm glad you asked, Nola. Gray areas are neural transition zones and where your brain is. So you're going from unlearning outdated pathways to forming stronger, more aligned circuits. And you're building tolerance for ambiguity and growth. Because I've done this a bazillion times, I have the endurance to say, this is going to be a minute. You've seen this before. You've experienced this before. Not at this heightened level, but you have enough traction to be able to get it done. So again, why is it necessary? Gray areas are neural transition zones where your brain is unlearning outdated pathways, forming stronger, more aligned circuitry, and building tolerance for ambiguity and growth. So far, what questions do you have as I go over some daily brain-based activities to support you in your gray area? If it's clear, let me know. Okay, so daily brain-based activities. Here are daily brain-based activities to help you navigate the gray area of growth, grounded in neuroscience. So these activities strengthens the circuits involved in neuroplasticity, emotional regulation, identity formation, and decision making. Number 1, morning identity reflection. And the brain region that you're going to be targeting is your medial prefrontal cortex, so the self-concept. Your purpose is to anchor your emerging identity. And what you're going to do is write 3 sentences. I am becoming someone who. I am becoming someone who, and you're going to have 3 sentences with that. Regina said, no questions, but appreciate the topic. I thought you were referring to the brain and not behaviors. I know. Exactly. And my first, believe it or not, Regina, in my initial search, that's what the chat gave me, was all the gray areas of the brain and all of that. And then I said, nope, that's not the answer. So I had to scroll down to the part that I was literally talking about, the actual growth. So, yep, I understand that. And you had the same response that chat had initially. Number 2, a 90-second reset. And it's the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. Calm emotional reactivity. And what you're going to do is pause, breathe deeply for 90 seconds while labeling what you feel without judgment. So you're going to calmly just label it. Label what is taking place. Next is you have growth visualization, and this is your visual cortex and your hippocampus. So strengthen future focused thinking. Think positive and grow continually are 2 principles of real leadership, and this allows you to do that. So you're going to visualize yourself acting like your future self for 2 minutes. Add emotional detail. So 2 levels up. So that's why I keep saying Nobel Peace Prize winner. Nobel. I'm getting the Nobel because I'm changing humanity. And I'm going to visualize myself standing there in a Gucci tuxedo with some black stilettos on, white collar, crisp silk shirt, my China doll hair. I'm going to get some red lipstick that doesn't have mica in it. And I'm going to stand there and I'm going to say, yes, I remember when there were 8 people on the live. I remember failing my neuroscience class, all to change humanity. You all are welcome. Thank you. I appreciate this. And then I'm going to go off and do something else that's extraordinary. Number 4, discomfort reframe. And this is in your anterior cingulate cortex. So you're going to rewire responses to uncertainty. Saying this discomfort is growth, not danger. This is growth, not danger. And repeat when facing hesitation. So as I failed that neuroscience test twice, this discomfort is growth, Dr. Donna. You got a doctorate. You already is a genius, okay? This is something new, all right? You ain't take physics. You ain't take this level of chemistry. It's going to be okay. This is growth, not danger. Number 5, micro challenge task. And this is you're going to be using your dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. It boosts the executive function and it adds some willpower. So you're going to pick one hard thing and complete it before 10 a.m. I think I got that on lock. My live starts at 5:30 a.m. So pick one hard thing every day. Do it before 10 a.m. What's interesting is chat said a workout or a tough email. Yes, chat, I wish I could just do a tough workout or a workout or a tough email. Nope, way bigger than that. 10x that, definitely. Then you're going to do some gratitude rewiring. And this will be your ventromedial prefrontal cortex and your insula. This regulates stress and enhances optimism. When you start going for personal legend and you start doing things that you plant trees for which shade you will never sit, you will need a lot of optimism. Go to your local pharmacy and say, yeah, I need a prescription for optimism. Please give it to me. And eat them optimistic pills like Cookie Monster on Sesame Street. What you're actually going to do, though, is write down one thing you're grateful for about yourself, not just others. So you're going to say, here is what I'm grateful for about you, Dr. Donna. I am grateful for your intestinal fortitude, Dr. Donna, your stick-to-itiveness in the midst of tsunami, hurricane, horrific winter avalanche storms. You are just there, steady, just doing it every single day. Next is the mirror feedback check-in. We talked about the mirror neuron system yesterday, and what it's going to do is boost your self-observation and your growth empathy. And you're going to look in the mirror and ask, am I showing up as the version of me I believe in today? And for me, it's 2 levels up. Am I showing up as the person who already knows everything there is about the brain? Have I studied the brain, mastered the brain, and teach others to do the same? That's what's on the whiteboard in my office. Number 8 is your neuroplasticity walk. So for the hippocampus, and it's the hippocampus in the default mode network, what it's going to do is support your memory and creative problem solving. So walk in a new environment for 10 to 20 minutes without your phone and let your mind wander. Just do it. Just let it happen. Just let it just wander. Just do a mind wandering walk. And then number 9 is self-coaching script. And this is your Broca's area and your prefrontal cortex. You're going to rewire internal dialogue. So speak aloud. What do I need right now to move forward wisely? And then answer that question compassionately. What do I need to do right now to move forward wisely? And so for the Admiral asshole that was on the live, and yes, I'm saying that, and if you have a problem with it, you can exit stage left too. I told myself, I'm about to block you because I still have a lesson that I need to do, and I will not be sidetracked. And I'm in the middle of a story that resonates with myself talking about gray area while this person is coming in and just sitting there and judging a situation that they actually don't even know the context of, which is what the purpose of what I was saying was actually about. So those are the 9 activities that you can do. And here's a bonus tip. Growth gray areas aren't gaps. They're neural construction zones. Growth gray areas are not gaps. They're neural construction zones. And yes, I will be doing a future live about neural construction zones. So I am in the middle of a construction zone. So if you think about if you're building a house, if you're building anything, and Lola, you know this better than the rest of us, or because Kevin's not on the live. When you are in a construction zone, you're not like, well, this shit ain't ready yet. What is going on? Some people are, but you understand how long construction takes. And so if you don't lay that mud sill down, if you don't put the wood up framing correctly, and if you don't put electricity in right, you're going to have problems in the future. So if you want to build it right, you have to take the time to build it right. It's in a gray area until it's complete, and then it's time to decorate. Okay, next on the scene. And then I'm going to switch. So if you look in the bottom right-hand corner, navigating the gray area of growth, that's 4 of the activities so that you can see those. And then what questions do you have, if any, about the activities? I'm back. I wish it kind of faded in, but it is what it is. And if no questions, just say no questions and I can move on. Regina's typing. Lola said clear. Nola said no questions. Oh, that there. No. I like out loud internal dialogue. Yes, you can do that. And remember what that does is that's definitely taking the rumination out. The left hemisphere can't just sit there with it. You hear it. You're in the prefrontal cortex to be able to have that internal dialogue. And so now you're going to quiet the right amygdala and the emotionalness and rumination of the left amygdala as well. Okay. Why do people avoid the gray area? I'm glad you asked, Nola. Here's why. People often avoid the gray area because it triggers uncertainty, discomfort, and cognitive conflict. And here's a breakdown of the reasons psychologically and neurologically. So again, it triggers uncertainty, discomfort, and cognitive conflict. All things that the left and right amygdala don't like. And associated with it is the ACC and the insula. So it's like, no, we're not going to be gray. We're going to sit over here in our comfort cocoon because we know exactly what this is. And because of negativity bias, the brain wants predictability. It wants to know I'm doing the same thing every day. And then the cognitive dissonance of that is I'm looking for something exciting and a dopamine boost every day. but I want to be the same, and I want the dopamine to come from inside, from an external source, so then I can stay the same. But I want new dopamine every single day. See how that don't make sense? Math ain't mathing on that, but that's what the people who came on here early on wanted to do. I need a dopamine boost, as I said, in my comfort cocoon. I want to pick the dopamine boost. No, that's not how that works, especially if you're going and growing forward to your next two levels. So neuroscience reasons people avoid the gray area. Number one, uncertainty feels threatening. Every day that I get on the live, I feel threatened. I never know what is going to take place. I have an agenda, I have a lecture, lesson, however you want to qualify it, and I never freaking know what's going to happen. I have no idea who's going to be on it, and I have no idea what people are going to say. And that is some gray area amygdala hijacking for you. And the brain region involved is the amygdala, and it interprets ambiguity as danger, activating fear and avoidance. And so again, ambiguity is unclear or confusing, and it can be understood in more than one way. So you can have ambiguity, which we'll talk about in the brain bit, but in this case, it's the confusing part of it. I don't know what's going to happen. Next is the mental effort is taxing. If you have a hijacked amygdala and your little bitty amygdala is running your whole brain, and you got a weak prefrontal cortex, you don't have the working memory or the neuroplasticity to think. You're going to experience cognitive overload in a level that you've never experienced it before. So the mental effort is tasking, and that's in the prefrontal cortex, especially in the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. So evaluating both sides requires energy, logic, self-control, which the brain may resist. So I have to resist being just Dr. Donna Thomas-Rodgers and now going to the person who will receive a Nobel Prize. That's very difficult. It's like, why? You already Dr. Donna. Why you just can't keep talking about leadership? Like, why you got to do all this? And how I got here, just as a reminder, is I was wondering why people couldn't complete RL 365, and they were dropping off between the 80th and 90th day. And then that led me to 30-day challenges. And then people couldn't finish a yes and no challenge. I had a student that went 120 days to get 30 days of telling people yes and no. And that wasn't enough. I was like, but it's still not working. And then I came out as a nerd in October, been studying the brain for the last 10 months, because what I want to know is why people can't be at their best every single day. What is stopping them? And that's how I ended up with a brain t-shirt on, because I started with real leadership and principles of real leadership. Just be a real leader. All you got to do is do these 74 principles of real leadership. Why you can't do it? All you got to do. And now I know, 3 days ago, in order to look somebody in the eye, you're using 9 different brain regions. That's a lot. So I can go back and cheat like everybody else and then just say, well, just do the 74 principles of real leadership. Just do the 74 principles of real leadership. All you got to do is 74. They work. Instead of saying, why can't I get to critical mass with this? So that's how I ended up here. And so my brain is like, you forever changing some shit. You always doing something. And I'm like, no, be the best is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. And why aren't people at their best? And now I know that it's neurological. And here I am talking about gray matter. So my brain is definitely like, this is effort to the shit. We was cool as the other side of the pillow. We was running on all cylinders. And now you done went and added some shit that you ain't even got a background in. That's smart. And you're back in school again. Number 3, people crave cognitive closure. And so the anterior cingulate cortex is the brain region involved in this. And so it monitors conflict and ambiguity, and it creates discomfort when no clear answer is available. So I don't have a clear answer. I don't know how long it's going to take for people to get it. I don't know what year this Nobel Prize is coming. And my brain doesn't like that. So it's like, just go back to doing what you was doing. This ain't even necessary. You were good. This is so not necessary. And you don't have an end date to this or a completion date for it. And then the risk of social judgment. And this comes from the medial prefrontal cortex and the insula. So these regions are sensitive to rejection or disapproval from others for being unsure. Every day I got to get on here and damn near mispronounce some neurological word every damn day. Every day somebody is saying something, or I'm saying, damn, now I got to learn this. I mean, look at this right now, ladies and gentlemen. Look how many Post-its I got 5 post-its today of shit I didn't know. 5 post-its. Just for this one damn live. 5 post-its. Of in the middle of already not knowing this, now I got some separate post-it notes from this other stuff that I just found out 2 days ago. So there's plenty of judgment. And I have 5 communication certifications, and we got in trouble in some of those certification courses for reading. But I need to read. Because like parenting, I just found this shit out 48 hours ago. So I'm going to have to read. People on the news read from the teleprompter all the time. People that's supposed to be on ESPN, oh yeah, and our notes are this. So I have to get past that. I just learned this. But when it's time for me to tell you information that I already know, I got it. I'm not reading from notes. I don't have to read from Real Leaders Wear Pink. I can tell you what's in it. I know what's in it because I wrote it 16 years ago. So that judgment is there. Oh my goodness, and I said this word wrong, and shit, I had to look up this, and now they're going to think I'm stupid, and they're going to start questioning me because I don't have a PhD and I got an EDD. So all that keeps coming, and guess what I keep doing? Waking up every day and researching. Why? Because we got almost 6 billion adults in the world that are personally unaccountable. We got adults standing next to kids, letting the kids try to just pass another adult, disrespectful as hell, and not say, excuse me, you're not respecting your elders. So that's what that was about for me as well. Because while I may not look like a senior citizen, sometimes when I have stuff on, I am over 50. And according to AARP, I'm old. Number 5, emotional overload. Limbic system and the amygdala plus the hippocampus. So you have emotional memories tied to past uncertainty, failure, and shame. And it may resurface and cause avoidance. And I'm probably going to cry because of this. So when I was in the career captain's course, back then, and it potentially could be the same way now, European American men had a problem with Captain Thomas. They had a problem with Captain Thomas because Captain Thomas was not coffee with cream. I was not going to bow down and kiss the ring. I was not going to play hoo-hoo, hee-hee, kiki, let's go hunting and all that bullshit. There was residue of Dee from the D. So what happened was the class behind us needed another SGL. So I had Captain Ball, who was also an asshole, but then I had Captain Black. Interesting. He's white, but his name was Captain Black. And what we had to do was news, weather, and something every day. And back then they didn't have Google, so you couldn't figure out how to pronounce words. I was still working on my reading, and I had to tell a story, and I said brandizing instead of brandishing. Everything else was perfect. When it was over, Captain Black got up and said, the word is brandishing. It's not brandizing. And if you had and so he completely went off on me in the small group. Now, there were a myriad of ways that he could have handled that situation, but because he didn't like me, I was constantly under a microscope for all the things that I was doing wrong. Even though other people were saying things wrong, but because they laughed and ha-ha, kiki, hoo-hoo, coffee with cream, made him feel like he was the man that he was. And I'm like, you a SGL. If you was the hot shit, you'd be at the Pentagon somewhere. So don't get it twisted. Branches don't even think you the shit. Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. So the point is, that when I say that, it's because, you're mid. And when I first got the OB and I said ax instead of ask, everybody laughed. Ha ha ha. She said ax. Chop, chop, chop. Thomas, ha ha ha. So I had to go back to my room for 2 months before I learned how to say the word ask. So now I have all of these scientific terms that are extremely difficult to pronounce. And that keeps coming up for me every time I can't pronounce a word. Now I'm like, shit. Now I'm like, fuck it. You gonna get it one day? Oh, well, people flub all the time, but that is showing up. Test anxiety is showing up from not doing well on any standardized test, and now it's neuroscience. So you put all of that together, and it is gray, and my amygdala is like, why don't you just stop and just do what you were doing? Why are you doing this to yourself? And oh, by the way, now you're going to say it in front of a live audience, and you can't see anybody. So you're actually talking to yourself all day long. Look at it in the mirror. If it's not bad enough, I used to be able to feed off the audience and see what was going on, and that's gone. So talk about obstacle on obstacle on obstacle on obstacle, and I wake up every day, 3 o'clock in the morning, ready to get this done again. So here are the psychological patterns behind avoidance. So I'm not going to avoid it. I'm kicking the door and be the first one in the door. I'm not about to let any of this stop me. Because that is the problem, is that nobody wants to look like a novice until they master it. But I am showing you that this is what happens when you keep growing continually. You're going to not know until you do know. And this is what it looks like, because nobody is willing to take you on this journey of excellence with them. I'm going to go in the lab. When I come back out, bam, I'm a bad motherfucker. No. because you need to see it in day-to-day life to know that it's not overnight success. You are not going to get it right. You are going to be saying 6.8 billion until you realize that it's 5.9 billion, 6.2 if you add the people with that are 15 and above. And apologize when you are wrong is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. I don't have a problem saying I fucked that up. I was wrong. Here's the right answer. Because that's what happens. Oh, no, I'm right. Especially when you get to my educational level. No, that's incorrect. The research is wrong. It's not. No, it's correct. If I'm gonna be my best, I need the best information possible. So I will say, yep, mess that up. I'm gonna be fucking. How many times y'all been on the live and I say got a new word? I'm gonna be messing this up for the next 5 days. Wernicke, and I was saying Vernix. It's Wernicke. I had to look it back up again. That's the German pronunciation of it, and that's the Wernicke's area of the brain. So the point is that you can keep avoiding it and you can go over to Louisville, or you can watch it happen in real time and be empowered enough to say, if Dr. Donna willing to fuck this up live in front of people, leave it on YouTube for other people to see, yeah, I can go ahead and be in my gray area. Psychological patterns behind avoidance. It's a desire for control. So ambiguity removes predictability and makes people feel vulnerable. I'm vulnerable every day, live, vulnerable. All or nothing thinking. Many struggle with the nuance and want things to be clearly right or wrong. It's not going to happen. They are still studying the brain every single day to understand what's taking place in the brain. Fear of making mistakes. That's the biggest thing. Unaccountable people want to make it look good all the time. So that gray area often involves risk. Taking risk is one of the 74 principles of real leadership, and people fear failure or regret. We know failure is not an option is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. I don't give a fuck. I don't care if I made a mistake today, because Edison, they always use them, but Dyson, the vacuum company, everybody got the Dysons in their house. It was 5,000 mistakes before that cycling system got right. So you're going to have, it's a Model T for a reason. It was like, oh, let's just do the Model T. No, it was a whole bunch of fucked up models before you got to the Model T, but nobody wants to see that. Next is cultural conditioning. Environments that reward certainty and punish doubt train people to avoid complexity. So in neuroscience, in psychiatry, you got to do all this research and you got to be right. Otherwise, your peers are going to laugh at you at some fucking conference. Fuck y'all. I'm trying to figure out why y'all ain't figured this shit out before me. You've been doing the same damn thing for 30 years, but no, you want to say, well, let's look at Cahal and Goji, what they said. Oh, let's look at the doggone brain of a rat and a mouse. I'm the only one using actual people. I'm the only one saying, look, we're going to all work on this together. We're going to figure this thing out together. They are like, okay, well, now that we've worked on 10 years with mice and rats and a possum, now we can get ready to start for a person. The fuck? Yeah, that's 10 years. We could have been had this doggone research, but no. You know what? Well, it's difficult. If psychiatrists and psychologists talk to people, it's not difficult. Neuroscientist says, we think this works. Go get a study together, a clinical study on people, and let's see if we're right. Well, no, we got to look at the brain scan. Keep looking at the disease brain. And we got all this hyper MRIs that can look at it in 3D form in real time and all that stuff. Okay, but we don't have disease brains. What about the people that just got regular ass brains that's just trying to learn how to use this motherfucker? And that isn't there. So I will be a mistake-making mofo until we all got it. Point blank, period. I don't really have nothing to lose at this point. And then, yeah, environments that punish you. So now it's like, oh, no, she don't know what she's talking about. She don't know what she's talking about. If I don't, who does? Go get them. If I don't know what I'm talking about, go grab the person that does. Somebody know more about the functionality of the brain and how to teach it, please give me their telephone number, because I will call them. I will definitely call them. I know some of them is stealing my shit. I do know that. I see them saying what I said 10 days ago. They know how to do that, but they definitely don't know how to do what I'm doing. And then imposter syndrome, which I read earlier. It's transitioning phase from not having the right answers, and that can trigger self-doubt. So I go back to when I was in the Army. I go back to when I was at Frito-Lay. It's like, damn, you didn't have the right answer. Other people did. And now what's going to happen? I'm going to get the right answer. That's what my track record says. I might be in this gray area now, but it's going to be silver, black, whatever color it's supposed to be at the end of the tunnel. It's going to be that. So here's the growth tip. Learning to tolerate the gray areas builds cognitive flexibility, empathy, and innovation. And it's all linked to a stronger prefrontal cortex. So I started out these lives with nothing in the background. Today it's like 632. Then I switched to a brain background, and now I'm getting so good with this prefrontal cortex stuff. I'm making the graphics in chat changing and adding it in unfolding and putting it on a green screen behind me, that is my prefrontal cortex, prefrontal cortexing. So that is what you see, this incremental change. I started out with one brain shirt, and now I have 7 brain shirts. And the only reason why I don't have new ones is because I don't really like what's out there. So I have to wait and see if there's something new out there. So now, how do you build up a tolerance for ambiguity? And if you have a question, just type it, and so I can keep on going, because I have 2 more things to go over, and we're 50 minutes in. So building tolerance for ambiguity means strengthening your brain's ability to stay calm, think clearly, and remain flexible in uncertain situations. And for those of you who, none of you on this live now were here in October, I started out on Very Well Mind. I started out with Johns Hopkins, the Mayo Clinic, the Cleveland Clinic. I was on everybody's website trying to get information. The Mayo Clinic sent me an email the other day, and I said, how they send me an email? No, it was like, you got on their mailing list. It's like, they just not sending me an email from last fucking fall. They really behind. And then ran out of information, started going to Google, went to the library, got my own brain books, and then finally I'm on Chat and Grok to get this information that I need for you. So I will not stay in this ambiguous phase at all, because we need this information. So how do you build up this tolerance for it? I'm glad you asked, Regina. Number 1, you sit with the unknown. I do that every day. They say in 5 to 10 minutes, sometimes it might be an hour for me. And what brain region that you're strengthening is the anterior cingulate cortex. And so this builds neural strength in monitoring conflict and staying with discomfort instead of escaping it. I have to sit there. Sometimes lessons, I'll look it up and I'm like, I'm 2 days out from that. I don't even understand it. How the hell am I gonna explain it if I don't understand it? So I got to study this after I research this. I don't know it. I got to figure out how to know it and then tell y'all. So that's how we end up going back and forth and everything else, because I'm like, nope, that's not ready yet. I have to still feel confident and competent enough to present the information to you. So I sit with the unknown on a daily basis. Next is to ask open-ended questions. And an open-ended question is any question that you can't say yes or no to. And this is done in the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. And what it does is it trains flexible, non-binary thinking and cognitive reappraisal. Now, what is non-binary thinking? I'm glad you asked, Regina. It is a mindset that moves beyond the limitations of binary, meaning 2 options. And then it goes from thinking and recognizing a spectrum of possibilities and embracing nuances and complexity. These can be a range of perspectives, and it challenges the rigid categories and assumptions. And so I am doing non-binary thinking. To my knowledge, there isn't someone who has said, how does the brain function? Now, how can we teach that to people so a way that they can execute it on a daily basis? And so this whole notion of we have to keep it up here with the neuroscientists and the neurologists and all of these people with PhDs and MDs and everything, and we can't get it down to this everyday user level, that's non-binary thinking, because of how I'm giving you this information, what I'm attaching it to, what I'm telling you to do on the daily basis, instructing or giving you information for. That's not typical. It's either neuroscience or psychiatry. Those are the 2. And I'm like, here come real leadership. Here come neuroprobability. Here comes the ability to wire your brain to these 860 trillion synaptic connections. You're like, hold up. No, you ain't supposed to be giving that information out. Yes, I am. Because people need to know that they can be extraordinary, not just this small select few. So definitely non-binary thinking, already in the process of doing that. Number 3 is journal. What if both are true? And that you're using the medial prefrontal cortex to do that. So increasing complexity tolerance in identity and belief formation. So what if it's true? I don't know what I'm talking about, and I do know what I'm talking about at the same time, because that's true. What if it is? And then you're going to practice delayed decisions. And this is in the orbitofrontal cortex. And it builds patience and rewires impulsivity by making you wait before choosing. If I have a lesson that isn't ready, that's got to wait. And sometimes I will have searched and spent hours on 3 different lessons to get to one lesson for the next day. But if it's not ready, then it's not ready. And I have to be okay with that. And number 5, use paradox phrases. This is happening in the Broca's area and the insula. And so you're speaking paradoxes. It feels both exciting and scary. And it helps your brain hold 2 emotions at the same time. I do feel excited and frustrated at the same time because I know this can work. It's just not working right now like it needs to. But I'm like, but I'm optimistic because I know what I'm talking about. But trying to get critical mass. The people got to come with you. The people got to come with you. I feel like Noah building that doggone ark in the middle of a drought. And Carnegie trying to get people to go across that steel bridge. Okay, next is engage in improvisation or storytelling. This happens in your default mode network, and it strengthens creativity, narrative flexibility, and fluid thought processing. And so that's why you have the graphics that you have, me with the brain t-shirt and doing all of these things and incorporating stories so you can get it, even though we're in a gray period. And then finally is to reframe uncertainty as possibility. Can makes the impossible possible is one of the 74 principles of real leadership. You're going to do that in your ventral medial prefrontal cortex, and it encourages optimism by linking ambiguity to opportunity and growth. Dame Dash said, "Never hustle on a crowded block." Almost 6 billion adults in the world. The block ain't crowded at all. Got it, Regina. The block ain't crowded at all. Now, what you're going to do for your daily ambiguity is you're going to rewire your brain. And so you're going to start saying, and uncertainty is not the enemy. It's the beginning of new wiring. Uncertainty is not the enemy. It is the beginning of new wiring. And here's an example for daily practice. In the morning, you're going to write one situation that feels unclear. And as we mentioned in the daily activities, you're going to label that emotion. Midday, you're going to pause before making a quick decision and ask what other perspectives exist. In the evening, you're going to reflect. What did I learn by not having all the answers today? And you know, when you are in your default mode network, as you reflect on your day and you say, did I learn something today? You're going to ask that question too. What did I learn by not having all the answers today? And then finally, here are the benefits of the gray area. The gray area, though it is uncomfortable, is a powerful zone for brain growth, leadership development, and emotional resilience. And here are the benefits of the gray area. Number one, cognitive flexibility, which we know is in the executive function of the brain, and it is right there with the working memory and inhibition control. And the brain region that is activated is dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. You learn to hold multiple truths and adaptive thinking, essential for problem solving and creativity. Number two is emotional regulation, and that's your amygdala and your prefrontal cortex. So facing ambiguity lowers fear responses and increases calm under pressure because you know, I'm in a gray area. Listen, amygdala, it's not going to be comfortable for a very long time. Let it go. I got this. Number three is innovation and creativity, and that's in your default mode network. Gray zones force novel thinking and spark new ideas not bound by rigid rules. We know every day we experience that on the live. I'm always breaking some type of rule. Number four is deeper self-awareness. That's in your medial prefrontal cortex. So you begin to question assumptions and explore more complex identity layers. And I'm clearly doing that every single day. Strengthen decision making. And that's in your orbital frontal cortex. You learn to make wiser, less impulsive choices even without clear outcomes. Number six is a greater tolerance of empathy. You're going to use your mirror neuron system in your insula, and holding ambiguity allows you to better understand others' perspectives. And then number seven is resilience and mental agility, and that's your anterior cingulate cortex. It builds the ability to stay grounded and engaged during conflict or uncertainty. And then coming around third is the brain fact for today. Learning to tolerate and explore the gray area strengthens neural integration. And this supports wisdom, insights, and emotional intelligence. And neural integration is basically how a neuron decides if it's going to fire and wire. And so it's excitatory or inhibitory. And I don't want to go into all of that with my class, but that I learned from my class. But basically what happens is if the neuron pops off and fires, it will wire. If it's not excitatory enough or there isn't enough activity going on, then it won't wire and fire and you won't have that neural integration. So it will allow you to strengthen those areas and actually get something to wire and to fire. Now, the real world benefits are it's better leadership and coaching skills, improved conflict resolution, more thoughtful conversations, higher adaptability in uncertain times, and it reduces anxiety and activity. And I'm going to flip it around. And if you look at the left corner, and I know there's a lot down there, so go back to the front of the live and you'll be able to take a screenshot. But on the left bottom corner is the benefits of the gray area. Just wanted to show you where it is so you can just, when the live uploads, you'll be able to go back and get a screenshot of that for yourself so you'll have it. So what questions do you have about any of the information that I've covered in the gray area? And if you have no questions, just type no questions and then answer your 2 questions for the day. What did you learn today? And what did you learn about yourself? Lola, I learned why I speak my challenge out loud in the order. I learned being in my gray area is not you help teach me when I'm confused about something, go back to my why, or is it benefiting my brain? Yes, ma'am. And I learned that people have been programmed to, how can I put this? I'm gonna say this is, here's what I learned. I am beyond sick of people telling me that I'm wrong. And here's why people do it. I hold people personally accountable, and that makes people uncomfortable. So what I know to be true is that when I am saying that someone else has done something wrong, it makes people uncomfortable. And not even something wrong, but something unaccountable. So the person at the front said, well, the child could be shy. And they make all these other reasons up because they don't set and maintain high standards. They don't understand that I already raised a responsible adult, and there are certain things that children need to be taught regardless of what age they are. Nola had started getting an allowance at 4 years old. But it is easier to tell the accountable person, sit down, be humble, be quiet. So I am still a little incensed by that person not knowing the situation, not knowing what's taking place, being dismissive of what I said happened based upon them thinking that they were talking to a Black woman instead of a highly educated African-American woman who was Levi Thomas's great-granddaughter. So I'm not going to ever back down from someone challenging me from a system that I live in. And I understand that they're unaccountable. I understand that their amygdala is hijacked and that we probably will never agree on it. But someone has to be the person that says, everybody needs to be accountable. You need to be accountable for the shit that you're saying. Don't try to go take up for somebody when you weren't even there, because that goes with your narrative. The world needs to switch over to personal accountability. That's what needs to happen. Otherwise, negativity bias is going to be, the generation Bs are being born this year, and it's going to go to the next generation. But being in the gray area is the reason why people can't make the switch. The gray area is tough. If you're in a comfort cocoon, you got to go in the gray area, just like Jessica yesterday, who didn't sign up for a 30-day challenge because she in the gray area. She don't want to be in the gray area. I'm trying to get over the hurdle. You just gonna have to do it. You're going to have to do it. The gray area is the gray area, and it's there for a reason. It's there for you to get everything that you need. So when you get on the other side, you have everything that you need. It is there. Growth happens day in and day out, and there are times when it's ugly and it's not pretty. And the more you grow, the more times you challenge yourself, the more strength that you have in the ambiguous phase of gray. That's what has to take place. And if you're unwilling to do that, then shut up. You don't get to complain. You don't get to say shit. What you have to say is, I'm an unaccountable bitch and I live in a comfort cocoon. That's what you actually need to say. Well, no, that's what you are. You a punk. That's exactly what's taking place for you. And you don't get to have a hijacked amygdala coming over here saying anything to me, because you a coward. You are a coward. Do what I'm doing. Do what I'm doing at the level I'm doing it at, and then see. You can't. You absolutely can't. So I will sit in this gray area. I will have 5 computers in front of me if I need to get this message across, because the world, the almost 6 billion adults in the world, need to start being personally accountable. This ain't even an option at this point. We need to be personally accountable. You need to start learning how to use your brain so you can start using your brain. This is not, do I want parsley? Do you want fries with that? This is not some fast food order through some doggone drive-through. This is, to quote doggone Floyd Mayweather, this is an academic. It's a problem. It is a problem everywhere we go, and everybody's sitting in a comfort cocoon because they don't want to be in a gray area. You don't get to a high school diploma without going through middle school. You might get a GED, but you're not getting a high school diploma without hitting up that middle school, getting bullied, having acne and everything else, being in your awkward phase. You don't get to that point without it. So in order for you to become your best for real, you're going to be sitting in the gray area for a while. Oh, well. Nola said, I learned that there is a term for being better than you were, but not where you want to be. Yes, ma'am. It's a gray area. So in summary, I will continue to endure all that is taking place in this gray area because weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning light. I will not go to my grave having not made the attempt to actually make the world a better place for the generations that are coming behind us. And it's not so that they can have a college fund. It's not so that they can go and buy a stupid ass house and do some dumb shit, but that they can become better human beings. That they can actually, we can start finding cures for all of these incurable diseases because people are getting in that gray area of sitting in a class that makes them feel stupid, i.e. me for neuroscience, so that they can go off and do extraordinary things. Nola said, I learned about myself that it's okay to be in the gray area because there are benefits. There are benefits. And because unaccountable people are so visible right now, they make you feel bad, as I mentioned, for being in that gray area because they're cowards. Because they are too afraid to be in the gray area. So they're going to make fun of you being in the gray area. So you'll stop because your gray area is making them uncomfortable. That's what this is about. Your gray area is saying, hold up, wait a minute. You about to grow and leave. Wait a minute. No, that's stupid. See, I told you that shit wasn't going to work, dumbass over there. Why she go quit her corporate job and anything else? You going to get divorced. And anything else that you do. Anything else that you do. So I am embracing my gray area. I may even go ahead and get a shirt that says I'm in my gray area phase. I am in my gray area phase for sure, because it is necessary. If you don't want to get to through the gray area, you're never going to be extraordinary. You're not. And don't say, well, I'm good at this. And you're not. If you are not at your best, if you can't execute the 74 principles of real leadership day in and day out and be extraordinary instead of just average and ordinary, then you ain't shit. I don't care how many awards you got. I don't care about none of that at all. If you don't have gray area stories of how you became extraordinary, you were just an amygdala that latched onto somebody else's prefrontal cortex. They made it happen for you, and then you exited stage left and took credit for their prefrontal cortex work. And that's not how your brain works. If your neurons are not wiring and firing, if you are not working on something where you are a neophyte or a novice, then you just regular. You living in a comfort cocoon, and you want credit for being average. Well, I'm breathing. If you ever had no respiratory problems, that ain't shit. If you ain't never had nothing wrong with your breathing at all, and you bragging about breathing, you ain't shit. If you still doing the same thing that you was doing 50 years ago, 30 years ago, that ain't shit. And I said it. And I don't care how many awards and everything you got. I already got, I was the best at all that, and I moved on to something else because that's real leadership. So yes, I'm in my gray area. Yes, I'm going to fuck up a bunch of words on my live. I'm going to say them wrong until I say them right. I'm going to get parts of the brain mixed up until I don't. But you know what I'm doing? I'm doing it. Doing it is better than not doing it. And watching other people doing it, being some spectating ass motherfucker like and saying stuff. You ain't in your gray area. So you decided to do something, got in your comfort cocoon. It's okay. And now you want to sit back and judge everybody else. Nope. No, absolutely not. That dog don't hunt on here no day of the week whatsoever. So I've never been one for hero worship and idolizing and fandemonium or none of that shit at all. Because it is, at 52 years old, this life is about evolving until you're no longer here. I don't care about what you did in 1997 back in the day. What you doing today? As to quote Janet Jackson and paraphrase it, what have you done lately? Lately, in 2025, what have you done? We over halfway through the year. What have you accomplished in 2025? What have you overcame? What generational curse have you broke? What neural pathways have you created in 2025? Because that's what matters now. 2025. You want some credit for some old ass shit that's invalid. No, did you build upon that? I wrote my book in 2009 and I have built upon it since 2009. So yeah, I can keep talking about Real Leaders Wear Pink because it has expanded exponentially. So the point is, embrace your gray area. Embrace it. And the only people who will make you feel bad about your gray area is unaccountable people who are neurologically inept to understand the evolutionary process of neurogenesis. Those are the only people that will make you feel bad. And now that you know that it's part of the process, embrace it, reframe it, watch this again and again and again until you know I'm just in my gray area in this particular area of my life. Because this is the only gray area for me is this neuroscience stuff. I know a lot about a lot. This is my only challenge yourself, take risk, and grow continually. That's what I'm doing. I'm honoring 3 of those 74 principles of real leadership by doing this and lead by example because I'm showing it to you every day in real time. So does anybody else have anything else before I get out of here? The gray area is where the magic happens. And Regina, when you stop driving, if you'd like to email what you learned, feel free to do so. If you're still on here, because you could potentially be at your destination. Going once, going twice. All right. I will be back tomorrow, God willing, higher power in the universe, same time, same place, safe space. Unless you are unaccountable, then you will be escorted out. And one day I won't have to say that anymore either. Or one day soon, because here's what's going to happen. Football season is going to take place, and Labor Day will be here. Halloween stuff will be up, and then people will go off, and they won't show back up again until the new year after Super Bowl and all of that. In there. That's what happened. Might see some people over holiday break because there ain't nothing on TV. Kind of waiting for the bowl games to come on. So it might be a dip then. But other than that, this in the next 2 weeks, these unaccountable trolls won't be here anymore. But I still will be. God willing, higher power in the universe. Same time, same place tomorrow, safe space. Different brain t-shirts. You all go off and have a brain-tastic day. Take care.